right, hit that like, everybody. Be sharing the show and sending it out and all that kind of stuff. We're about to get ready. Yep, out. Close. Hit that like. Let's see what we can do. Oh, and I gotta open up there. Stay on target. Stay on target.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your
Yep, there we go.
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it. Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What are you doing?
I had a beat off.
I welcome you to the show, everybody. The mic is on. We're all good. We're actually up and running. It's kind of a beautiful thing after the crazy drive back I had last night. Welcome to the show. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc., etc. We have a lot going on this week. Nerd Halen, Saturday night at the Whiskey. Next week, we've got Denver Sexy Liberal and Nerd Halen in Denver the night after. We've got, just craziness. On the 25th of this month, we've just added an Ultimate Jam Night where we are supporting Pride Month. So we're going to have a very Pride-oriented song choice and artist choice, which clearly means I will get to finally sing a Queen song and Judas Priest song and maybe even sing with Doug Pinnick on, I don't know, Dog Man or something like that. He and I have done that before, so that'd be kind of cool. I don't know. And some Elton John. I don't know. We'll see. But it's going to be great. I may, well, all right, I'm not even going to, there may be something that's kind of cool that I talked them into letting me do, but we'll see. That said, welcome to the show. Don't forget to hit that like, let people know we're here. Let everybody know you're here, because the gift of your eyeballs is the most wonderful thing you could give. Now, I'm going to, I have to say, right after I talk to the chat room, bing, hi chat room, look at you lovely folks, look at this lovely crowd of human beings that's in here. I gotta say, why is the chat so, why is it so, it's very strange. You have to move the chat in this guy. On my Instagram side of things, the chat was very, I don't know why, but it was very cattywampus. It was, there you go. Yeah, this is fine. Much better. Hit me with some emojis. Let me know you're there if you're in the Twitch zone. And same with Facebook. Facebook people, throw in some emojis. Sorry. I'll reset whatever you had. You lost your career. Oh, reset whatever I had. Reset whatever. I don't know what you mean. Reset it. Okay. Anyways, I will try and figure out what you mean by that. But anyways, the Venmo's right over here if you want to help with the Venmo. Some people have been lovely lately and helping out with the Venmo. Just a little cup of coffee here and there. A little goes a long way, so don't, Anyways, if you can't contribute to the show, I don't hide anything that's a part of the show behind a paywall. So you're free to watch it. I don't have a members-only show behind the scenes. I am specifically here for what I do here, and everybody who supports the show by whatever measure they do supports the message of it getting out, not for me to have a little cul-de-sac of insider information that I give only to the club members, which is just jerk-off bullshit. Other than that, I have no opinion. And the people who do it are scamming you for money. Anybody who says the first hour is free and then behind our paywall you can watch the members only thing or whatever is not interested in political solutions, informing you or entertaining you. They are corralling audience, so they can fuck off. That said, you guys are wonderful, and you anybody who supports the show is supporting it for everybody to see it. There you go. That's right. Hal, what? So Hal is smoking his cigar and drinking scotch. Yeah, that's all it is. That's the little room. Just sit back there and go, well, you got in. Was it worth it? Pop, pop, pop. So, yeah. How can you send me something? Moniz, you can, like I said, Venmo, you can become a Patreon. Super chats, depending on the site you're on. And then, of course, I have a mail-in address that's on my website that you can mail stuff to. So, that's, nothing, nothing oozy. Yeah. Nothing that oozes. I'm pretty happy with my hairdo right now. I gave myself a little layered cut, and it worked. I'm just saying. I got very Ace Frehley hair right now. It's happening. All right. We got a lot to talk about today. I feel a bit like I'm burying the lead on this one if I don't go straight to this video, because it's right in the area that, drives me a bit. It just drives me mad. And that's the idea that there is a giant global Illuminati matrixy group that runs everything and controls everything, and that everything you do is kind of semi-futile anyways, and there's nothing really you can do. Even if you vote for people, that power is taken away from them. You're only allowed to vote for them because the cabal allows you. So are they real is the big question. And according to this puffy dickhead, it's still an open question. Global cabal? What? So, yes, the global cabal. I'm going to, real quick, if I may, before we even get down this road, and hit that like, if you would. Before we even start this, I'm going to put my thumb on the side of the scale that says no. There's a myriad of reasons why the very people they're talking about will support each other in some areas and compete against each other in others. The idea that there's a group of 5 families that have all agreed, I don't know, to procreate the new race of the world, and that they're not going to fight with each other because shit like that never happened when we had those kind of numbers on the earth and there were royal families before. It's just goofy. The idea is that somehow they believe, it seems, as I understand it, and we'll find out, as I understand it, that the cabal itself is basically a bunch of, Rothschild-like families, okay? And you hear other voices? Oh, that's Cam. Yeah. Anna Kasparian is saying the Democrats are massing their crime stats in 2024 in order to keep Biden reelected. Yeah, she's stupid. She's just mad about the Armenia thing and she can't talk about it. So, yeah. Anyways, point I'm trying to make is that they think that there's 5 families that wish we could hit the reset button, the Pentaveret, obviously, that you could hit the reset button, go back to pre-Dark Ages family control, serfdom and fiefdom under a theocracy or a monarchy, mainly monarchies driven by these groups, and that they would kind of go, "Hey, you got a pretty daughter, have her marry my ugliest son, and we'll kind of even things out." Yeah. And obviously, the Pentaveret is clearly real. Let's see. Do I have? And for those of you that don't know some people don't know what the pentaveret is, which I think is sad. Let's see. I should. Yeah.
Well, it's a well-known fact, Sonny Jim, that there's a secret society of the 5 wealthiest people in the world, known as the Pentaveret, who run everything in the world, including the newspapers, and meet tri-annually at a secret country mansion in Colorado known as the Meadows.
So who's in this Pentaveret?
The Queen, the Vatican, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up.
So that's that storyline has been around for a long time. And if you haven't, by the way, watched the So I Married an Axe Murderer and the Pentaveret, it's some of Mike Myers' most easily digestible work. Okay, so let's see if there's a real global cabal. Again, I say no.
So let's go to an even bigger picture. When I said, when does it start? I think,
No, you don't.
when, a third of the angels were lost.
They're lost? Wait a minute. God's up in the sky and he still hasn't gotten a GPS system in. Okay, first of all, how do ethereal, non-temporal, beyond the physical beings die?
And, Satan is cast out. That whole argument was about.
Why was he cast out? You think killed? Oh, that's because he was an angel and he turned on God and got kicked out, which sounds like some alien shit to me. I'm just saying it doesn't really sound like, I suppose there's room for metaphor in there, but I got it, as far as like in your own mind, there is your primal urges and your better nature, and your better nature is always kind of working to keep yourself together. And the best thing you could do is cast out your primal nature and you can do whatever. Okay.
Individual choice. You are going to choose. You are going to, yes, you're going to suffer and you're going to, whatever, but
because God needs a distraction.
You will have freedom of choice.
No, you won't. That's, by the way, can I just say for the record, heaven sitting on a cloud at the right hand of God and never wanting for anything, and or because it is a choice, or a lake of fire where you are tormented forever is not a choice. It is an idiotic binary. That's not a choice. A choice is, I don't know, can I visit hell on the weekends? Just, to kind of peer at the nudity and kind of, relish in the fact that some of the people I didn't like are stuck down there, and then spend most of my time in heaven. These are vagaries of the choices. This whole, is bullshit.
Satan said, no, you don't want them all to suffer. You don't want all of that. What kind of person are you? I thought you were a good guy. Now you're making everybody suffer, and you're saying some of us are going to be lost. I'll tell them what to do.
Which, I got to say, makes him sound fairly reasonable. It sounds like, so far, I think Glenn Beck has made the best pitch for Satanism I have ever heard.
I think what we're experiencing now
is the devil lives at Sonic and he makes me get a milkshake every day.
Is the same battle that is found in the falling of a third of the angels.
No. For fuck's sake, no. Now that already happened even in the theory of the Bible. You're basically calling the Bible bullshit while insisting on its reality. You're a very weird man.
And it's the same, I think it's the same argument as well. How do you get a third of the angels who are seeing God all the time, praising him, standing there? They know who he is. How do you get them to turn on him?
Well, I think your metaphor being that God, I suppose in your analogy, is Donald John Trump. And then the angels would be the people in his cabinet and who are around him. And by the way, it's more than a third. But how do a third of them go, wait a minute, I'm working for fucking Jeffrey Epstein's wingman. How the fuck did this happen? You mean something like that? Like when that happened? Good Lord.
You have to make him into a monster through compassion. You have to say, he wants some of you lost. He's not going to save everybody.
Which he isn't. I mean, literally in the Old Testament, there's a part where he literally, like, the Pharaoh and the Egyptians were inclined to release the Jews, and he was like, I will confound their minds, their souls, to not release you. Basically making them sinners so that they don't release them and then you have to forgive them. That would be terrible.
He wants you to suffer. I'm telling you there's a way to not suffer.
Yes, and it has a lot to do with laying amongst a bunch of other people while they're naked with, like, oil all over you, and everyone has access to grapes. I'm just saying.
What do you think of that theory?
You're absolutely correct. And
no, he is not. He's not absolutely anything. You're a fucking lunatic.
And one of the things that you see, and this has been going on for hundreds of years, is this
Hundreds?
movement to try to make that exact argument, right? God is oppressive. God's got all these rules for your life. You know, how mean of him to say that you shall not and you must do this. Why not have total freedom? And you see actually a lot of self-proclaimed Satanists make these arguments.
Yeah, the one that was my point, is that Glenn made a pretty good pitch for how they feel. Also, if you're a Satanist, you're arguing for the existence of the Abrahamic God because you can't have one without the other, and therefore, in living in that particular binary, you erect the other half of the binary in that process, because you can't have Satan if he was cast out by God. You gotta have that God has to have a dominion over him and has to exist. So never mind. I don't get into a theocratic discussion because these assholes are wandering through their own ignorance.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, right? We don't need to obey those silly moral codes. Who does God think he is to impose?
Yeah, making us wear a certain hat. And why can't I have fish on Friday? This all seems, I got to tell you, this really seems like you guys are making up these rules. I don't know how godly it is, but honestly, I spilled my seed at least 3 times last week and nothing happened. You did? Yeah. And the fact that you didn't even know and you're supposedly God's representative, I think is quite telling.
Those things on us. And for a long time, those kind of base instincts, especially in the Western world, were held in check because the rest of society said, no, wait, these are important. these are good things. But now we see that breaking down.
Yeah. We got this big pro-murder push on the everybody wants to murder and everybody's for theft. It isn't that they're giving people who have been guilty of a crime a second chance or something like that. Is that we're pro-burglary at this point. That's where those, instead of going, well, maybe they're innocent. Maybe during this period of time when they're defending themselves, they should have the same rights and privileges of, say, a rich person in this particular situation, whom those kind of people seldom ever go to jail. And if they do, the money they put up is nothing. And so there should be some equivalency in that you should be able to take into account how much money somebody makes before you give them, you assess bail, and so that it evens it out a little bit, so that it's based on whether they're a danger to the society or how much they're willing to commit to their own defense before they plead guilty or are found not to be, guilty of it, or plead innocent, and then whatever. Never mind. The point being is that no, we have not decided all the fucking sudden that murdery stabbiness is all like, that's what we teach your Boy Scouts now.
After a period of multiple generations of constant attack, indoctrination of multiple generations of children. And so we're now moving into a new phase of the battle. But I agree with you. This is all the same struggle between good and evil that's been going on from the dawn of humanity.
Nah. I gotta say, it's a lot more gray is what's happening. It's less of a struggle and more like a thumb wrestle.
And it's maybe a new phase in that battle, but ultimately the core of the battle still.
It's just a phase you're going through, Gabriel.
The same.
So when you say Council of Foreign Relations, Bilderbergs, Rothschilds,
and Cardinal Sanders before he went tets up.
By
the way, also, I don't think it helps his case that he looks like Colonel Sanders. who, by the way, was a very good man. Glenn is not.
Club of Rome. Those are all keywords to go, oh, and do you have foil on your windows? Right. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
They're all
Foil on your windows. Oh, it's a 5G thing.
all conspiracy. Many of them, when you...
They're special interest groups. We have a phrase for those groups. Special interest. Largely, they are either familial riches, what's effectively an economic monarchy. In the case of the Rothschilds, that's what he's talking about. Or in the Club of Rome, a religious group.
say them, they're also a laser pointer to go, anti-Semite.
Guy's like, yeah, and I'm okay with that.
What do you... Take me through those and show me how it's not a conspiracy, or what parts are false. Who are they?
What am I talking about? Who am I? Are you my mother? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, great questions. And I would say, first of all, there's two ditches that one can fall in on these issues, right?
Right, because that's intellectually, that's a great analogy for how to think something through clearly, rationally, with reason. Intellectually, morally, ethically, psychosexually, I fall in one ditch or the other.
There's the one ditch, and some people fall into this ditch, that these individuals, these organizations are so powerful, they practically attribute divine,
everything.
Godlike powers. Mm-hmm. Nothing can happen without their permission.
Correct.
They run everything in the world. And that's ludicrous. Of course they don't. They're not God. They don't control things. And then there's the other.
Well, the idea is that I think, first of all, there's a false equivalency. Those are multiple groups. And the idea is that they control individual things. The illusion is, and I don't know where the fuck Glenn is going with this, is that they all work together.
Ditch that one can fall in that says, oh, there's nothing to see here. That's just a nice nonpartisan think tank. Well, it's not just a nice nonpartisan think tank. And to go back to what we started this conversation.
Yeah, neither is Turning Points USA.
So it's certainly not everybody who's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. They have about 5,000 members. Is an evil-doing conspirator who wants to enslave humanity. Right.
6 of them are, though. Definitely. There's at least 6.
A lot of these people are people who would be nice to have a drink with, might be nice to have a coffee with, might be nice.
Because they'll introduce you to the people who run things. Men. You can...
Nice to have lunch with. They're people who believe what they're doing is good.
Yes, but, obviously, they are deceived by the deceiver. Lord has not removed the veil of Satan upon their eyeballs.
There are people who believe that the world would be better without this attachment to national sovereignty, where more power and responsibility was transferred to international institutions like the UN. But it's a real group. It has been incredibly influential in setting policy in the United States.
Yeah. What's their record? What do you think? 1 out of 5? You think they're batting, what are they batting? 80?
Now, you can look at virtually every presidential administration for the last 60 years has been dominated at the cabinet level by members of the Council on Foreign Relations. Doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat. You see these people
That's because it's a gathering of people. It's like saying most of the people have Ivy League diplomas.
Run a lot of the big media companies. They run a lot of the big banks.
You know what I'm talking about.
When you find out, anytime would...
And no, they don't. No, they fucking don't. The Council on Foreign Relations is a hobnob group for people to impress people with it's a secondary, it's almost like an alumni group for all the upper level Ivy League schools and the big kind of like political science graduates in the world to talk about this shit. That's what it is. And it's a connection group. It's like saying the Chamber of Commerce is a fucking cabal.
Woodrow Wilson is involved. Red flags go up. Mm-hmm. But when you see why Colonel House, I think it was Colonel House, wasn't
Edward
it?
Mandell House,
that set it up because he felt the unwashed masses, they don't understand. And
right. You also think that, asshole.
The media needs to be on our side. So we're going to come up with the policies because we're the elites. We understand it. We'll teach it to the media so the media can help teach it to the people. So it's a
Right. Which is preferable to just pointing guns at people and making them do what they're told, which is what Donald Trump wants to do. You see how fucking weird this is? What he's doing is he's arguing against a functional hierarchy created through education and disseminated through information. Dear God, people study. They work their way up in a myriad of different areas, and then they join something like the CFR, and they give speeches, and they have roundtables, and they try to figure out the bigger problems that on the individual level, most people don't have the time or wherewithal to do anything about. And then they take their discoveries and they inform them, like the American Heart Association does, but with politics. What are all these elite doctors who've all decided to get together and try to control the human heart, right? That's the equivalent to this fucking stupid argument.
completely un-American kind.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. An informed electorate, and they can take it or leave it. And the idea that it's un-American because people who are on the CFR, who are listed as being part of the Council on Foreign Relations, and are mentioned, it's when they're on television, they're like, so-and-so is a senior fellow at blah, 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 and member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And people could go, oh, I don't believe anything those fuckers say.
Kind of, it's a brainwashing center, really.
No, it is not. That's the Blaze. That's what the Blaze is.
How it was designed. Now, I don't know how long it took before it really became that, or if it ever fully became that. But that was the...
No, it wasn't. It was fucking not. This is... he might as well be talking about high schools. This asshole also thinks high schools are indoctrination centers. And that everybody who went to high school, you're just a fucking lemming now. You're a robot. You're the cabal controls you because you went through the public education system. Now, granted, he went through the public education system, but he's got a special brain that you don't have that allows him to, he was able to buck the controlling matrix laser fucking beam, right? You can't because you're fucking stupid. But him, he was able to go through the exact same classes, the exact same shit you went through, and you know, and they can't control him. He's got free will. It's the rest of you that are under control.
The beginning thought. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. And
no, he's not. I don't even. First of all, I'm not even sure who this dude is, but it seems like his entire job is just to suck Glenn's butthole.
you go back and you look at the origin of the CFR, you're right, Colonel Edward Mandell House was a key player in that. The reason they set it up is because the U.S. Senate refused to participate in the League of Nations, and they wanted to build this international architecture. They wanted government power to expand and manage the lives of people because a lot of them were these utopians. They thought the world would work better that way. And, you know, when
and by the way, it does. Not this whole UN control bullshit is nonsense. But peacefully being able to work out your differences at a regular gathering through a regular organization with rules is always better than just random individual countries attacking people apropos of fucking nothing. That's what the UN is for. It won't be successful at every time, and it won't fail even when it's set up to, because it's run and occupied by humans. That's the reality.
it comes to this issue of anti-Semitism,
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
really, I think it's absurd when people say that. Some of the biggest
Oh, it's outrageous.
victims of these people and these agendas
yeah.
are actually Jews.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, totally. Yeah, especially after just telling us there are a bunch of Jews in the CFR who, are contributing to the UN, which eventually, was obviously part and parcel with the League of Nations to the creation of Israel and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's just, that's the thing. Most Jews go to public school and they don't know. They got indoctrinated. Unfortunately, they're just stuck that way. They're basically like robot lemming Jews now. They're only vaguely Jews. And Glenn, though, again, and whoever, Professor Dipshittery over here, both of them are like, yeah, but I mean, obviously I was able to fight off the mind ray.
when you look at the people who are running these institutions, David Rockefeller is a really good example. David Rockefeller is not a Jew. Nobody's ever accused him of being a Jew, and yet he was the chairman of the CFR for a long time, steering committee member on the Bilderberg.
Right.
He's been a major player in all this. And so when people try to say that's anti-Semitic, or when people try to say it's a conspiracy, I say, we need to define our terms. That is really ludicrous. And even the term conspiracy, this is something.
It means to breathe with. Conspire means to breathe with. And the idea is that people leaning together and covering their hand, and that they're whispering so closely that their breath mixes. That's to conspire. That's where that phrase comes from. And it's basically, you can almost see it in like portraits of the Roman Senate, where people are leaning over and whispering to each other, or in the Last Supper. You can kind of see this kind of talking between Judas and whoever was helping him bug out. But that's where that comes from. It's conspiracies happen all the time. A massive conspiracy is the jokish part.
That the CIA tried to popularize as a term of ridicule.
Bullshit.
I encourage people to open up their dictionaries. The word conspiracy just means two or more people working in secret on some immoral, illegal, or nefarious objective.
Right.
So there are conspiracies all over the place. Nobody would be surprised.
Yes, for example, what we have here between these two guys is what is classically referred to as a conspiracy of dunces.
To know that two businessmen conspired to fix prices. Nobody would be surprised to know that two politicians conspired to get something through the legislature.
Yeah, but that's nefarious. That's not nefarious. That's just planning. That's not a conspiracy. Working on a strategy is not a conspiracy. That's the other thing.
But we're trained, almost like Pavlov's dogs. We're conditioned to recoil in horror when somebody says the term conspiracy. Well,
No, we're fucking not. All right, all right. First of all, they've been pushing this whole idea, like Alex Jones pushes this a lot, that if you talk about something in terms of it being a conspiracy theory, or in the case of Glenn Beck, someone being what I would call a conspiracist, that has nothing to do with a conspiracy theory, that they are actively manufacturing or artificially inflating these theories about how the world runs in a way to make their audience more paranoid and squeeze more money out of them. These people are conspiracists. They're conspiracy generators. Okay, whereas a conspiracy theory is based on the idea that there is an unknowable circumstance which perhaps the generalized accepted explanation doesn't quite cover everything, and people kind of germinate on, well, what if this was caused by this, or one element was caused by this, or these people work together to make this, and it's all hidden behind a veil. That's how people are talking. There's nothing wrong with conspiracy theorizing about the fucking Kennedy assassination or shit like that. That's different. What they're engaging in is conspiracism. It is a thought form that manufactures a constant veiled conspiracy to bilk dickhead paranoid maggots out of their money, which, by the way, I have no problem with. I mean, it's a great living if you can do it.
Shouldn't. The Department of Justice charges people with conspiracy virtually.
Yes, Donald Trump is thanks for bringing that up. Donald Trump is charged with conspiracy in the documents case.
Every day of the week in this country. So do state prosecutors.
Well, Cass Sunstein with Obama, wrote that famous argument, academic only, that to discredit people, you have to say this is a conspiracy theory, even if it is true.
Right.
You call it a conspiracy theory because it will at least slow everything down.
Yep.
Real quick. You can use anything as a pejorative to further a false premise or narrative or plan, if you so choose. You can paint someone as a negative with anything, even shit they regard as positive in that language. So writing an academic paper about the term conspiracy theorist in the last 30 years is going to come to that conclusion anyways. Some people can use it to describe something in a positive sense. Others can do it to describe something in a negative sense. This is just them. What they're doing right now, and where this came from, is they're running interference for Alex Jones. That's what Glenn's doing here.
And they have a new term now that they've been using. I'm sure you've seen malinformation,
yes.
Which is information.
That's not, no. That's misinformation or disinformation is the common phrase.
That's true, but the elites have determined is being put out there for purposes that they disagree with.
The elites. Yes. For example, there will vaccines, no vaccine works 100% of the time. Some people will have adverse effects. Therefore, if you put it out during a period when the vast majority of people will be helped by a new vaccine and it could save their lives, and you flood the airwaves with those two true but inappropriate details of the conversation, you will scare people who won't have either of those problems out of talking to their doctor and seeing if the vaccine's okay for them and checking in, and they won't take it and they will just die. That's malinformation. Do we have to jump back and be like naive assholes?
So it's amazing now that we're in a world where truth is no longer a defense, right? You
I think Rudy Giuliani said truth isn't truth. And yes, it is. It's a defense.
can't say that, even if it's true.
Yes, you can. But if you're trying to manipulate the populace through a true thing, okay, look. For example, you're in a burning house. Okay? The burning house is in Massachusetts. And if you go east out of the front of the house and you walk 3 miles, you will reach a cliff that faces the water, that faces the ocean. And if you keep walking, you will die. And that is true. If you walk out of this house and you keep going that way, 3 miles down the road, you will fall off a cliff into the ocean. Okay, true fact. Now, the house is on fire. The only door to exit the burning house is the eastern door. The windows are burning. The back door is on fire. The only way you can exit is east. And someone in the fucking, with a megaphone outside or inside the house itself is saying, if you go that way, you're going to fall off a cliff. Right? That's what he's talking about. That's a true piece of information. If you keep going that way, you'll fall off a cliff. If you go that way, can vaguely, be true if you keep going, right? That's the point. That's the description here. That some vaccines, people have bad interactions with them. Oh, shit. And there's a huge pandemic around you. You're not one of those people. You can talk to your doctor, and they will clear you for it. But this asshole has talked you out of getting it because if you go out that door, you will fall off a cliff and you burn alive in the building. Because this guy used a truth that is not germane to the circumstance to kill you. That's what malinformation is. That's exactly what this is.
Because, pick your term, conspiracy theory, malinformation, Russia, whatever it is. And I think as people
and they all gotta giggle and to themselves and defend Russia. The fact that Russia does things, isn't that ridiculous?
Value truth, we should stand on truth. Regardless of what nudgers like Cass Sunstein want us to feel when we're accused of being so-called conspiracy theorists or whatever.
But there is a difference, right? You said, let's define the terms. There is a difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
What is the difference?
So a theory...
A conspiracy, after the fact, how it worked out. I'll give you an example. Here's the difference, Glenn. A conspiracy is when Donald Trump works with Waltine Nada to bring boxes from this allegedly locked room to his office so he can go through the papers in there while telling his attorney that all those boxes are going to stay in there until they come back in 2 weeks to pick them up. And he brings them in, you go through them, pull out stuff you want, and then he puts the box back. And the two of them conspired, and this is a fact, to not only deny classified documents that should be returned to the government, but also to fuck his own attorney into lying on his behalf. That's a conspiracy. That really happened. That's also something that both of these assholes will never cop to. For the record, a conspiracy theory is shit you talk about because you don't know and you can't know, and there's too many moving parts, and so people will often spackle the gaps in their knowledge of something with the concept that behind the scenes somebody threaded a needle that nobody else could see.
A conspiracy theory is a hypothesis or a theory about a possible...
Wait, a conspiracy theory is a theory or a hypothesis? Well, technically, it's a conspiracy theory is a conspiracy hypothesis. There are no conspiracy theories that have reached scientific theoretical standards. There's a difference between a hypothesis and a theory, if you really want the words to make sense.
Conspiracy. And everybody comes up with these. I mean, we're human beings. We're not animals, so we notice patterns.
Speak for yourself. No.
I don't think it's wise to promote conspiracy theories unless and until you have evidence proving that it's true.
Correct.
If you have evidence proving it's true, then it's not a theory. And also, by the way, if you have some evidence that seems to point that it's true, and you've excluded other evidence that shows that it is not, then you are simply a grifter. Which is how fucking Glenn sells prepper food.
The fact that there are conspiracies is irrefutable. To go back to Psalm 2, 3,000 years ago, David was writing about the kings of the earth and the rulers conspiring. Is how a lot of translations render that against God.
It's the way humans are.
Right.
It's way we operate. And
no, it isn't. Hierarchies and monarchies working together over the centuries is not conspiracy. That's not the same fucking thing. Alliances between, warring countries, when the French and the English decided to get along for a little while because the Germans were a problem at any given time. It's not a conspiracy.
If you want to define conspiracy,
I do want to disfine conspiracy. Can we disfine it? I think that would be good. Could we just obliterate the meaning? I think I just did earlier, actually, if I think about it. I did disfine it. This isn't conspiracy theory. These assholes are conspiracists. They are followers of the ball-like God and acolytes of the religion of conspiracism.
Only as bad and evil. Well, there are good conspiracies, I think, as well. People.
Not according to the other guy's definition, because it has to be something criminal or nefarious. That's what makes it a conspiracy. You don't have to conspire to do something good. You just plan something. That's a plan. It's a plan, dum-dum.
That get together and say, you know what? I think doing X, Y, and Z, I think the secret part is where it starts to get a little nefarious. But
yes, that's where it would be. It's secret plan. Even a secret plan is not a conspiracy to those engaged in it.
We conspire with each other.
Well, sometimes we lean in and our breaths intermingle and, one thing leads to another. And the next thing you know, you got a mask on and a robe and there's someone writhing on a table in front of you covered in olive oil. And Tom Cruise is trying to sneak into the party without a real invitation. Fuck that. Okay.
To move things forward, and we're always on both sides convinced that it's good.
Yeah. Well, and
No, you're not. That's why you conspire. By the way, there were a bunch of Nazis who knew what they were doing was bad, but better than the alternative, and felt it was a necessity. It was a necessary evil. They spoke of it that way. That's why some of them didn't even let their own people know it, because their own people would get wind of it and go, that's fucking terrible. I don't want that. And they're like, we'll let them know when it's over, because they thought they were, they knew it was evil, but they thought it was an evil that served them.
I think there is something in human nature where sometimes we justify things to ourselves that we know are not right.
So Glenn did take you through the drive-thru at Sonic on the way in.
And I think there's a lot of that going on with the elites, to go back to what...
The elites. Okay, real quick. I'm done with this. It's just fucking boring. But can I just say for the record, the elites. The elites. Elite. People who think they know because they have, I suppose, a diploma or some level of success in business or some other place, but they think they know better than the average person and that they should be in a position to tell you how things are and clarify things to you, right? That's the fucking elites. Well, one of the signs I would think of being an elite is having matching white microphones with your fucking logo on them and a studio that doesn't look like a homey place to have a conversation, but looks like fucking Area 51 or an aircraft hangar where you look at stolen alien tech as the two of you sit there and go, well, these people at the CFR, they think they're doing good things for the world, but we know better. There is nothing more elite than this bullshittery right here. And most of the time when people like Glenn talk about elites, it's because they're jealous that they're left out of the conversation, they think. They think they should be one of them. I don't know about you, but I like the concept of elite thinkers, people who dedicate themselves to something. There are elite guitar players. There are elite singers. There are elite mathematicians because they dedicate their fucking life to it. And if we have an issue that involves what they do, being able to talk to an elite person that goes, yeah, I learned all this stuff. If you want to learn this little bit, this is how I did it, and it might apply. What the fuck do you think teachers are? So and the anti-quote elitism just means that I swear to God, all right, the anti-elitism, I think personally, comes from their assessment or their projection onto other people in positions of power that they're as morally degraded and full of shit as they are, as Glenn Beck is. Glenn Beck sees people in positions of power and goes, shit, if I had their power, I'd do all kinds of awful. And so I can't allow myself to make a moral judgment about myself and go, oh my God, listen to the terrible thoughts. It's a good thing I'm not an elite because I do some terrible shit. Right? He doesn't have enough character to do that. So what he does is he just projects it out and says, you know, if I do it, they definitely are doing it because no one's stronger morally than I am. Which is an elitist thought in and of itself. Like this fucking, it's so aggravating. And I get so tired of this anti-elitism, anti-hierarchy bullshit, like that permeates dickheads like this. Look at this epic rant. Alex Jones beholds the pale horse. No, he doesn't. Alex Jones's gut biome is screaming to escape his rotting carcass. And this AI generated worm person picture is supposed to be like.
It is a blessing to be real. It's a blessing to tell the truth. It's a blessing to know I'm real. Every day when I go to sleep, every day when I get up, damn it, I can look in the mirror and say, that's a real American right there.
Wait, you think I'm not a real American? You think other people aren't real Americans? You think real Americans are the ones that agree with you? Or I guess more to the point, you think that, the only thing that makes you a real American is being a bloated alcoholic mess?
And parents and their parents would be proud of me, and they are. Not a bunch of crap like these New World Order pedophile devil worshippers.
What? Yes, you're one of the, Old World Order pedophile devil worshippers? That's the kid. It's the kids today. They don't even know how to do it right, Alex?
I'm a straight shooter all the way, and
No, you're not. If anything this asshole was saying was true at all, any of it, the very people he's talking about would have killed him a long time ago.
Love it. It's my identity. It's everything. It's my entire soul. It's my value. And
you don't have any. And this is a character.
That's what they don't like.
No, they don't like a lot of us, that you tormented the parents of dead toddlers whose bodies were eviscerated and they had to have a closed casket funeral, and you said they were faking. And that is the standard and ethic in everything you do. Yeah, see, this is a performative horseshit. You know what? I get to say, at least during my, when I get up in the morning and I go to bed at night, that when I laughed during the day, it was genuine.
Yeah! Woo!
So this is what you call in the radio business filler. This is just anti-dead air rambling.
I get to defend my family and humanity. I get to have the worst people on earth come after me. That's not a curse. That is a blessing. And they can put me in.
And I get to be alone in my jack off war games gamer lair.
Prison and torture me to death. And
yeah, they're not putting you in prison and torturing you to death. You're asshole. You're fucking. All your crimes are financial. Like you're just gonna have to pay a bunch of money. They're not gonna put you in jail. They aren't. I mean, you wish, kind of, I guess, because they can't take your whatever your room and board money because the state would provide it.
Cut my head off. I don't give a damn about.
I think you would. I'm just gonna say I would. I think most people in my crowd as well. If they're like, we're gonna cut your head off, you'd be like, I probably, yeah, no. If I put me firmly in the no category of that, I kind of do care about it. Whether or not you can do anything about it, I suppose, in certain situations, like the French Revolution or something like that, that's a different thing. But
Up them, because there ain't nothing on earth they got I want.
well, then why are you worth like $250 million? Why have you accumulated all that money if there's nothing worldly here that you want? Why don't you have a, Reverend Gene Scott kind of a show where it's just a stage and an old burned out high school that you bought off of eBay?
I want victory.
Over your own colon.
I want to get these scumbags off our backs, and we will, and they know it, because there's a wavelength and a spirit I've got that you've got.
Is that the ray that gave people headaches in Cuba?
And we resonate together, and they know we're the fire starters in the minds of men and women.
I gotta tell you, he's really close to like taking a wire hanger and bending it into two arms and going, I can find water.
Thomas Jefferson talked about InfoWars is the flamethrower.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson never said that. I'm just saying. And also, information is not fire.
It's the hydrogen bomb dropped on their lies. It's the fire of God's truth coming down on them.
It doesn't seem to be. And also, why would God need you for that? Here's my thing, and this is, pardon me for interrupting, asshole, but I gotta say that if God had an inherent truth, and this is God's truth, we're not talking about some second-tier angel managerial VP of heaven asshole. I mean, God's honest truth. We hear that phrase, God's honest truth. If you were a conduit for God's honest truth, let me tell you something. You wouldn't have to raise your voice. The subtle whisper of it would be like magic. Like you just breathe out and fucking flowers would bloom, one would think. I mean, I'm taking it at his word that's what we're talking about, is God's honest truth. This is, I got to tell you, it doesn't sound like God's honest truth to me. I'm just saying, on that standard. It sounds like pathetic, whiny blather.
They don't know what to do.
They kind of do, actually. I mean, you do realize the rest of the world is kind of humming along without you.
Because they're worshipers of Baal. They can pray all day and they can't get a spark.
I always thought it was Baal, isn't it? Baal, Baal. Maybe they worship Baal. Maybe, you're going to be worshiping Baal. Bail bonds with the jail and we call back to
out of the sky. When we pray to God and do it in earnest and do it in courage, fire rains from heaven.
No, I've not seen that. Yeah, metaphorical fire rains from metaphorical heaven.
And they know it.
I don't, whatever you want. I don't think they're convinced, I got to say.
And they can feel it.
Well, does it feel good? Because it seems like it would, they're like, every time that asshole screams at the sky, I get a little, like, my taint wiggles, and it's kind of pleasant.
And they understand We will never surrender to their Satanism.
Yeah, they're not asking you to surrender your Satanism. They're to their Satanism. They're just you're being made to surrender your studio and your money making situation there to pay off the parents that you tortured. You know, in the name of Baal.
We will never become their. If you looked at the Antifa and the Satanist, have you looked to the left like zombies drooling?
Oh, you mean? Yeah, because the January 6 people really had it together, though.
Who the hell would want to be like that?
The Jan 6 people, apparently.
What type of God do you serve?
Yeah, okay, yeah. This is, again, filler laughter. This is, I gotta say, I've seen him fake a laugh before, but these are, it's almost like he thinks he's not on camera and that this is just audio.
It's not even like, oh, I have to hold myself back from not selling out. It's the opposite.
It is the opposite.
They are repugnant. They are anathema. They are repellent. Like it's like, you ever been out in the country?
Yes, I have. I've definitely been out in the country.
And one of the jobs is
I grew up in the real country. In the country. I grew up in the country. You grew up in the fucking suburbs.
got a dead cow or a dead horse rotting, to get it out of the field, put it in a gully or whatever.
Or whatever country people do. They just get their dead cow out of the field and put it in a gully. Yeah, we call it gullying.
It attracts more coyotes, and it's just not a good thing. And
yeah, it's not.
It just spreads disease. So, you know, I've done it a few times, dead horses, dead cows. Sometimes they've been dead.
He has not. He's absolutely not done this. This is bullshit. There's never been a situation where young Glenn Beck and his family were dragging a fucking corpse of a cow or a horse to a gully.
A week, there's maggots.
He's heard other people bullshit this story out, and he's just copying it for himself.
It's all over. You got to get out of the tractor. You know, with a big old chain tied around the leg. Sometimes the leg pulls off halfway where you're going. It's just like the most disgusting. You know, oh my God, there's a possum inside the guts eating. They'll go up their ass, be eating inside. Possum's in there. Leg pulls off. Possum looks up at all the guts and everything.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. Remember, I mean, how does that not happen every time? Maybe don't blaze a rail of cocaine cut with bullshit before you do the show.
And, you know, that's my job. Is the worst
is making up stories to give yourself countrified bona fides you don't actually have.
part about it is I got to, like, literally dragging those dead animals around.
Yeah, that's what you are, you fuckers. My audience like dragging around a dead horse corpse with a torn off leg and a possum up its ass. That's what doing InfoWars is like. That's the show.
And having to tie chains around all those rotting flesh and maggots is 1% out of 100 as bad as it is just looking at leftists. Being around these leftist lawyers and they think they're powerful, they're serving Satan. I'm just looking at a big, rotting, dead cow.
Okay, so I guess we're at the point where it was beyond, like, I guess Antifa and the idea that kids in Portland who participate in that horse shit, they don't bathe or they're gross or something, or they wear black bloc, and I don't know what kind of an asshole wears all black with no symbols on it or anything like that. Only a rotting corpse of a human being, apparently. But apparently that's what he means about the Antifa people. And from that, if I'm reading him right, is that he extrapolated that onto the lawyers that worked for the Sandy Hook families are leftist Antifa lawyers who don't bathe and are scummy, and you never want to be them, even though they have very nice suits.
Or a dead horse with maggots. Spiritually, you see them, they're like all maggots all over. It's like, ugh. And I'm thinking how pathetic they are and how soulless they are and how they're shooting their kids up with deadly shots if they got them and how they serve the system and Satan. And I'm just sitting there holding my spiritual nose, just going, uh-huh. You think?
By the way, this is your mouth. This is your nose.
They are and how they're shooting their kids up with deadly shots if they got them and how they serve the system and Satan. And I'm just sitting there holding my spiritual nose, just going, uh-huh.
He might have said Mose there, which I guess would be half mouth, half nose, which it would come as no surprise if that Alex Jones, and I'm sure no one would disagree with this, is a mouth breather. All the signs point to mouth breather. Absolutely, somebody who's on the edge, I don't know how you use a CPAP if you believe the elites are going to send somebody to fucking Tom Cruise their way into your room and put some drops in it and kill you in your sleep. You wouldn't hook anything up to it. But his Mose apparently is this kind of weird hole in the front of his face, or combination of holes in the front of his face.
I mean, you think you're powerful over me? I see you, a rotting pile of flesh, spiritual rot right in front of me. When I'm
Again, projection, because he knows this is what people think when they see him in person. Who is this smelly, bloated fuck?
my mind's in the stars and infinity and just endless beauty and interfacing with God and discernment and psychic power and will and just everything that God would.
Yeah, I think none of that, not even close to it. Like even saying that out loud speaks to the fact that you have no idea what that would even feel like.
Would have given you, and instead you're a pile of rotting flesh. You are your father's child. You are death.
So that the children of Lucifer, I guess, well, Lucifer's child of God, so I don't know where you're going.
And behold, I saw.
Oh, fuck you.
The horse, pale.
Yeah, that's what he said, a horse.
Oh, the rider, and his name was Death. Pull up Revelation, the pale horse.
I don't remember how it works. I'm starting to quote the Clint Eastwood movie.
I want to read it properly.
You don't have it memorized at this point? It's the end times. You don't even have to memorize the rest of the shit. You have one job. This is a guy who literally, his entire job is the end of the world and has been for 30 years, and he can't quote Revelations off the top of his head. It's no surprise he can't do John 3:16, or he can't do any love thy neighbor kind of Christian stuff. But you'd think of all things.
Re-upload to X the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones. That should be put about. Now, that's an animal that's been dead about 2 weeks. That's not as bad.
Thanks, assholes. And I had to fire all the people who know what they're doing because I've been socking away the money I would pay for them into a Cayman's account to avoid having to pay these Sandy Hook parents. And the guy I got in there right now, I gotta be honest, I think he's using ChatGPT. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
They're the worst when they've swollen up and are all plump.
Then you might want to check yourself into a cemetery.
I only probably hauled off 10 dead animals from my work on ranches.
Yeah, probably. Least.
I didn't do anything compared to most cowboys, but I've done a few years total work.
Yeah, a few years total work. If you put it all together in the bullshit story he made up in his mind.
The summers in one whole year. And yeah.
The summers in one whole year. You mean fucking camp.
Oh my God, you pull up with one that's got like 100,000 maggots all over it. Woo! It ain't too fun. And that's what I think of all of you, Hillary Clinton, AOC, all of you lawyers. I look at you and you're a pile of stinking rotten flesh, and you know you are. So why don't you...
Yeah, I don't know that they care what you project onto them, because you look like someone found you on a riverbank after your body had been missing for 3 days.
You smell yourself. And I looked.
So he's farting up the studio, and that's what's we tell you.
And behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him, and power was given unto them over a fourth part of the earth.
So in the end times, only a quarter of the earth died. I got to tell you, this sounds like it already came and went. I'm going to go with Dark Ages, something like that.
Kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with...
Wait, killing with death? How does that even work? How do you not kill with death? I guess is my question. How do you kill somebody and they're still not dead? If they're not Jesus, I suppose. And yeah, kill with death. Oh, the old killing with death. Ah, yes. Yes, beat to death with a Agatha Christie novel.
The beast of the earth.
Yeah, so the birds aren't. We don't have to worry about the birds. So what you're saying is Hitchcock is full of shit, man. That is, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, share it out if you would. Now, there's obviously, there's. Here, I'll give you. Let's go straight to the conspiracy. Let's jump right in. So the story is, for those of you that have, are following from the cheap seats, and definitely the chat is not. Ping, where are you? 1, 2, 3, and pow. There you go. Here you're coming in. The big story, of course. Hunter Biden found guilty on all 3 charges, and he's not going to do jail time over it. He just isn't. But the president's already said he's not going to pardon him. I wouldn't doubt if he did get jail time, if there was a commutation of the sentence, or even if they didn't, or that kind of stuff at the end of his presidency. And I don't really care about that part of it. They do it with people like this all the time, where there's been, prosecutorial overreach and the like. So, but whatever. Point being is the story that's going around, and this is coming from I think it was Glenn Beck who said it yesterday. Greg Kelly, who was talking about it yesterday, who said essentially that this is just a smokescreen. This is just, it's all set up to, hold on, let me see if I can, is just to hide, they're sacrificing, they're sacrificing Hunter to get at Trump. That's the idea, that this is all just, it's a distraction. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. This is, see if this picture's up right here. This is Greg Kelly's guilty. So what? And the title is when Greg Kelly Hunter Biden conviction is just for appearances. Same thing over here with Hunter Biden gun trial is a head fake to separate Joe Biden from his son's crimes. So the new conspiracy theory from these folks is that they threw Hunter to the wolves instead of, it's not a sign that the Justice Department is doing its job. It's another version of like Biden playing 5D chess, but he's too stupid to play it, and he's too old, and Greg has spotted it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Greg Kelly, the most miserable man on the internet.
All right, Hunter Biden guilty, but so what? All right, so what? Look, you think this?
So what? Just because he was found guilty of lying on a form, and Donald Trump was found guilty of lying on a form, you think that makes it even? Huh?
This is justice. This is yet another scheme to help and protect Democrats.
By their attempt at loosening the rules on gun ownership?
It is another play to help Joe Biden get reelected. I don't know what they owe this guy, but what happened today is...
I'm guessing maybe they have money in the stock market. Maybe they have family members who make minimum wage, and they're watching the wages go up. Maybe they're just looking at the salvaging of the country post-pandemic and are like, fuck, can you imagine if Trump had controlled the reins right now? We'd be in deep shit.
Weird, all right? Totally. There are
It's just weird.
so many things you could charge Hunter Biden with.
All right, like what?
But this gun thing, you know what he was convicted of, right? Let me see that form. He said no when they asked him, are you addicted to drugs?
Yes, we've all been watching this, Greg. It's over. They've been talking about it for a long time.
That's it. That's what he was convicted of. So if he put yes instead of no, well,
he wouldn't have been able to get the gun. He would have checked that, and he would have been denied. Because no one wants to give a gun to an addict that's so far gone that they would check the yes box on that form. How fucking high would you have to be?
well, there would have been no crime. He wouldn't have been charged.
He wouldn't have gotten the gun, dummy. That's how it works.
Is that why they spent all this money? Is that why they went through all this trouble, right?
No, they had a plea deal. They went through all this trouble because Republicans insisted on this trial. Because they threw a monkey wrench into this. They manipulated the justice system to go back after him, to like have a Trump-appointed judge toss the plea deal.
A big trial? No.
Medium size, I gotta say. I wouldn't give it trial of the month. No, it wasn't even the trial of the month. Yeah, the trial of the week.
A big part of this was to legitimize in their mind, and they think in our mind, oh, this legitimizes the case against Trump.
No, the facts in that case legitimize the case against Trump. This is unrelated. What it does do though is show your inability to separate those thoughts. You cannot see anything through a non-political lens. It's impossible. And also, you can't recognize that in both of those cases, those are problems created by Trump himself. One, by committing the crimes that he did, and by putting people in judgeships that would, attempt to attack or listen to the Jim Jordans of the world and attack, Biden's kid.
Right? A Democrat was prosecuted, a prominent Democrat. That means everything that's happening.
Hunter Biden's not a prominent Democrat. He's only prominent because he's the president's son. He's not prominent as a Democrat. If you want to go after that, look at Robert Menendez, and he's going to get fucking convicted, and he should. And Democrats everywhere are like, fuck that guy. But I will say, if there's cover in any of this, it's that Hunter Biden's trial is covering for Menendez. It's a bigger news story than the Menendez one.
President Trump and his recent conviction is somehow valid? No.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's definitely valid.
It's not.
It is. It is. Just say it. It is. It's very valid.
Absolutely not. But
it absolutely is. Just say it for the record, Greg. It is. No, don't get me wrong. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I like when you get on a roll of being miserable. But yeah, it's totally justified.
What happened? I know it. Now these are the prosecutors who.
Wait, what was that sentence? I don't even know what the fuck he was saying there. What happened?
But that's what happened.
Oh, that's what happened.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. But that's what happened. I know it. Now, these are the prosecutors who brought the case.
Honestly, from where he was going in that earlier part of the ramble, it's hard to piece together what that he did just kind of like lose the thread and drift.
Against Hunter Biden. I call them henchmen, Joe Biden's henchmen.
Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares what you call them, because we see it through the lens of who you are as a person, and you're a miserable little bastard. So that's why. Greg, get used to the idea. Look, I hear this from maggots all the time that, my jokes about Trump or whatever, they don't care what I think. Then good, continue to go on not caring what I think. It's totally great. Just say it. You're allowed. And you're also allowed to believe that. You're also allowed to believe when you're saying to me that nobody cares what I think. But you wouldn't articulate those words, I suppose, unless you were worried that they did. So, for the record, the idea that you think that these guys are Biden's henchmen doesn't matter. It's your X&M for them. Nobody cares.
You can also call them, I don't know, maybe Joe Biden's deputy campaign managers, because these are the same guys who wanted Joe Biden, his son, to go free. Remember? All the way back in August.
Right. And so let me get this straight. These guys orchestrated. Greg, please try to grasp this, you sponge-headed fuck. So let me get the timeline straight. So the prosecutors in this particular case went to Hunter Biden and said, we want to give you a plea deal. Just fucking get rid of this shit. Nobody gets charged for this kind of thing. And yes, you could be found guilty for it. Anybody we brought up could be found guilty for it. But we're going to let it slide. You can cop to this, pay your fine, not do this anymore, whatever. Okay. And that was their plan from the beginning. And so the Biden campaign said, no, fuck that. Let's, I don't know what, pay some Trump associates to fucking Trump whisper into Trump's ear to get them to, him to talk to people in the House, get them to scuttle that plea deal so that we can actually have the trial, so that he can actually be found guilty, so that we can use him as a pawn in trying to legitimize Trump's case in the fucking hush money case, the election interference Stormy Daniel case that he participated in. So this is the kind of 3D chess that Biden is playing, and the initial plea deal was just a head fake to trick Trump into going through with this so that they could use his conviction to help. Fuck me. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. That's the argument. Oy.
Hunter Biden shows up in court, and there's this crazy convoluted plea deal that will keep Hunter Biden out of trouble, basically, for the rest of his life.
Nothing will keep you out of trouble for the rest of your life. You of all people should know this, Greg.
The judge was like, what the heck is this all about? She would have none of it. They were exposed, so they had to kind of go back to the drawing board and prosecute Hunter.
Oh, I see. So this was Plan B.
But that was a really fun moment. Do you remember?
We come on the air with breaking news. After several dramatic and unexpected hours of high courtroom drama, today the plea deal agreement between Hunter Biden and the Department of Justice has just fallen apart.
A routine courtroom hearing, it seemed, ended with...
Yes, we remember this. And again, so this was all planned.
A big plea deal in disarray.
Hunter Biden pleading not guilty after his plea deal was put on hold.
Yeah, I remember it. And that amazing judge was like, this makes...
Amazing judge, that amazing judge.
No sense. It doesn't make sense for the prosecution.
It makes a lot of sense. It's standard in these type of cases.
That, do you know what you're signing up for here? Anyway, they had to go home. They were humiliated. And, well, we all knew what it was about, especially some of my favorite guys in Congress.
The plea deal we saw as it started was garbage. Hunter Biden is getting a sweetheart deal that no other American who wasn't rich and had a father as the president would ever get, ever.
Okay, first of all, yes, they would. It was really common. He has no idea how many of them. He's got friends who've gotten similar deals, no doubt.
All right, now, look, I've never been a prosecutor. I'm not a lawyer, but
your dad was police commissioner, and he interestingly, he had a penchant for making sexual assault allegations go away. So you got the inside scoop.
Joe DeGenova went deep into this thing. He's one of our favorites, former U.S. attorney, and
acolyte of Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell.
This is like the essence of what happened today.
Oh, hey, so creepy dickhead hanging around in the lead up to January 6th. I don't know, British sycophant and guy who dosed his stripper girlfriend with the abortion pills so that she would abort the fetus that was his. He snuck it into her smoothie. It's a great panel. You should feel right at home, Greg.
Is corrupt. And it goes back.
You couldn't, Scott Ritter was busy?
A long time, but
Gorka!
August was important.
What you saw today was the epitome of incompetence and political corruption by a United States attorney, David Weiss, with the consent of the Attorney General of the United States, but not with the consent of a sitting federal judge who saw what was happening before her. David Weiss made a deal with the devil, and the devil caught up with him today and bit him in the fanny. This is going to be...
That's legally speaking.
Very, very difficult for them to unwind.
Oh, Gorka is from Hungary? Yeah, but he's Hungarian, but he's from... Wasn't he raised in England? I mean, he has a British accent.
There has to be a real plea bargain, and there has to be a continuing investigation. You can't have both, by the way. It's either you got to go investigate all of this, and remember, they didn't want to investigate anything that got near Joe Biden. And
no, that's not true at all.
And the judge knows that.
And by the way, none of this got near Joe Biden. Can I just say that for the record? This gun, what part of this fucking weird gun case at all got anywhere near Joe Biden? The only elements that showed up that involved Joe Biden were like recordings of him worried about his son dying and that he left messages for him. That's the only part of it that factors in. There is no part of this or the tax case that has anything to do with Biden. Everything included in the plea deal had nothing to do with it. They didn't, and by the way, this is July 26, 2023. That's when this happened. Since then, Has there been anything in any of these cases, specifically the ones that are going to the California tax case and specifically the gun charge, that ever went anywhere near anyone else except for Hunter himself? But I guess Hallie Biden, because she threw the gun away because she was worried he was going to kill himself?
And she wants no part of it.
So they went into the prosecution of Hunter kicking and screaming, but then it took on new urgency because of the case against Trump. So you got to get this conviction, but it's just for appearances.
I see. So they're just convicting him for shits and giggles.
And back to that U.S. attorney he was talking about, we saw him a moment ago. He's nervous. He's shifty.
Greg, you're looking at a monitor of your own feed. He's short. He's got a 5 head. You could tell he hates riding the bus. He keeps tongue jutting and going, I don't know what's up with this guy.
And he's saying weird stuff.
That's why I like the news, because I feel like, they articulate things in a way that you or I could not. And he's saying weird stuff. Take it away.
While there has been much testimony about the defendant's abuse of drugs and alcohol, ultimately, this case was not just about addiction, a disease that haunts families across the United States.
He's trying to defend continuing this thing. That they're getting a bunch of blowback because if they went after every addict who lied on a government form that qualifies as a felony, you want to talk about like prison swelling to bursting,
including Hunter Biden's family.
All right, that's weird. Prosecutors don't talk like that. They don't talk in sympathetic terms about the person.
Addicts? Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. Especially when they're getting accused of going after someone who's an addict. It's a PR decision.
And they just convicted and that person's family. This is a signal to the swamp. This is, I don't know what it is, but it's...
Well, that's clear.
Not standard. It's very, very weird.
This is not a standard case. Again, if his name wasn't Hunter Biden, this case never would have been brought. The appeal would have gone, his plea deal would have gone through. That's that.
Remember all the other stuff he did. I'll get to that in a moment. Watch this.
This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction, his choice to lie on a government form when he bought a gun, and the choice to then possess that gun.
By the way, the right is so of two minds about this because they hate this law. They don't even think they should have this form in the first place, much less that it should be, the government should have no right to determine whether you're lying or telling the truth on a gun form. It has no business in it. You should be able to buy and sell any gun you want, anytime you want. The government has no right to regulate the militia.
It was these choices and the combination of guns and drugs that made his conduct dangerous.
Yeah, in other words, small potatoes, all right? Peanut.
Yes, guns, drugs, an addict in the throes of it who might have killed himself or harmed another person while he was high with that gun. Small potatoes. Well, again, if it was small potatoes, then the entire case is small potatoes.
Nuts. This is a guy who was going all over the world, possibly funneling money to his old man.
Possibly? Say possibly again, motherfucker. It is 2024. It is 2024. It's 2024. You've been doing this shit since Biden took office, before Biden took office. Say possibly again, you dumb motherfucker. Possibly. You're saying you're still we're in the next election cycle, and you motherfucker, you're still saying possibly, possibly, possibly. Possibly funneling money to his old man. That's what you're going with in 2024. 2024. Possibly. Say possibly again, you dumb son of a...
I mean, how did these people get all that money? Huh? Rich Joe, all the houses, the cars, you name...
He sold a book, you dumb motherfucker. It's in his taxes. You can see exactly where the money came from. The question would be, Where would the house? Where's the other house that he didn't pay for with his books up? And the Corvette he's the original owner, you dumb motherfucker. And he didn't buy his son on eBay. What do you think? It's the only politician with a fucking tuxedo? Fuck's wrong with you? What the fuck? What? He's not rich, you dumb son of a bitch. I mean, I guess he is if you ride the bus. Say possibly again.
Name it. They got it. This gun thing.
You name it, they got it. Absolutely. The house has got a grotto, and there's a chocolate fountain that has gold leafing on it, so you can eat and shit gold all day long. And they got one of those massage tubes that you get in. It's like a human fleshlight that just kind of blarby like that, and of course de-ages you. Thanks for the salty bonus, JD.
Stuff, by the way, is kind of hard to understand. It's convoluted. Remember?
Yes, most of what you're saying, Greg, is convoluted and hard to understand.
They designed it that way.
They designed it so you can't see. They made it so that possibly you could always say there's a possibility of possibly that somewhere hidden away, socked away, there's another house. Maybe there's a house under the house. Possibly. Say possibly again.
All the money that came in from Ukraine, not just to Hunter through that
Biden family and associates. I had no idea. Is that an LLC, Greg?
Phony Burisma job.
Allegedly. Allegedly is just another way of saying possibly. You fuck.
A lot more money to the family of Joe Biden. Romania, did you know that was on the list too? How much money? $1 million from Romania?
To the Biden family from Romania. It's bloody Romans. Terrific race, the Romans. Terrific. Ooh, I wouldn't give to be spat in the face.
Random. And of course, China. Man, I mean, this is the stuff that we care about. This is the stuff we want to know. And this is the stuff that potentially.
What do you want to know? What don't you know already? Are you saying it's 2024 and we're not up to our eyeballs in evidence that's not clear as day? The evidence isn't everywhere? That there's still some question? Possibly, maybe, allegedly, if, maybe, possibly, that we'll see? Is that what you're saying? Possibly?
Potentially goes to the big guy himself. Hey, you know the biggest crime? Well, maybe.
Yes, please tell me what the biggest. Here comes the biggest crime. Let me go. Being Jeffrey Epstein's running buddy, his wingman for 2.5 decades, and then when he gets busted for being a pedophile, the prosecutor that gives him a sweetheart deal that allows him a key to the jail where he can let himself out. Donald Trump hired that guy to work in his administration. That's pretty big. That's a big crime. Yeah, the guy who allowed Jeffrey Epstein to check himself in and out of jail and basically have a key to the cell and come and go as he pleased. That guy got a position in the administration.
The most insulting.
I'm sorry. You take it back. Biden's. It has to be Obama's tan suit. Yeah, it has to be Obama's tan suit. It's got to be. That's way worse.
Silly art scam, pretending that Hunter Biden is some sort of an artist. What did the thing cost? $75,000. That big.
That's not weird at all. By the way, you do realize that there is a huge market for like notorious paintings and painters. And it's not even based on the quality. It's like the bragging rights of I have an original Hunter Biden because it's part of this scandal in and of itself. They were just good at making money on the scandal that the right wing created. And yes, and his art is pretty good actually. I think most of us when we saw it we were actually shocked because it was pretty rock solid.
Grin on his face. All right. Back to that.
Yes, it's called happiness. It's something you'll never understand.
Weirdo press conference today with David Weiss, who is doing a great big favor, he thinks, for the Bidens.
He thinks. So he's not. So they're not coordinating. He's not just doing what they tell him to. He thinks he's doing them a favor. So this is just one person working on his own.
No one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen
Too late.
Convicted of this same conduct. The prosecution has been and will continue to be committed to this principle.
Okay, that's another odd thing to say.
No, it isn't. It's a highly publicized case. It's the son of the sitting president. And all he's saying is, we're going to be fair. Okay, I think I've discovered what the problem is. Greg has a problem with anyone arguing for fairness. Because in all fairness, Greg should be living in a cardboard box.
After a conviction has...
If qualifications were the standard in life and not the fact that he used to be a morning New York local television host because his father was the police commissioner.
Been secure. No more accountable than any other citizen. Quite frankly.
Yeah, we heard him, dum-dum.
If he was no more accountable on this dumb thing, you probably wouldn't have charged him. Yeah.
They weren't going to charge him. They worked on a plea deal, and then a Trump-appointed judge insisted on going through with this. You can't have a conspiracy if it relies on a secondary conspiracy.
Yep. More on that in a little bit.
And he does mean moron. Say moron again. Say moron again. Better yet, just get it printed on a T-shirt and wear it, you fucking...
From Alan Dershowitz.
What? What? You're gonna bring in Alan Dershowitz to clean this up? Jesus Christ! Were you just trying to make all my Epstein references easier? You can't find fucking anybody else. How is that? How is there only like 3 guys who will go on and support Trump in this shit, and the one he has on the most worked for Jeffrey Epstein, was friends with him, went to multiple dinner parties, flew on his plane multiple times, and got a massage at his fucking house. You can't find any. Just look, I understand it should be a low bar. Find someone, anyone, that wasn't defensive for and best buddies of a convicted pedophile who died in jail because because he was afraid the cabal would do him in or whatever. You can't find anybody else. Greg, man, expand your fucking Rolodex. Here's a good idea. On the bus home tonight, lean over and go, hey, you guys are lawyers. Hey, you guys got, you know anybody that went to law school? You guys got a good lawyer? I don't talk to somebody on my show about this. You know any lawyers? Shut the fuck up, Greg. How'd you know my name? We all know your name. You suck. You're the guy who's mean to the driver. Sit the fuck down. And scene.
But this is all wrong.
So it's not supposed to be this way. I don't understand it.
Are you feeling it?
Yeah, I'm feeling it, baby. Yeah, I'm feeling. Am I fucking feeling it? I know for sure you aren't thinking it. Fucking. Am I feeling it? What is this, jazz? Shut the fuck up. Say feeling it again.
Next, please.
This is a difficult assignment. These folks have been working 7 days a week for the last couple months
to try and figure out why the fuck we're here.
Litigating a variety of issues in district and appellate courts on 2 coasts. They have given their heart and soul to this work. They represent the best that public service has to offer.
And they're getting death threats from maggots no matter which direction they go. If he's freed or they think he's going to get freed, they get death threats from the maggots. If they convict him, it's just cover for Biden, so they get death threats. Like, that's what he's talking about. That every time you have a legal case that has anything to do with Trump, the people involved have to come out and do these press conferences about, like, why are my people getting fucking, notes put under their, on their windshield in the middle of the fucking night saying we're going to, that are like a picture of their kids with a fucking, I don't know, a scope on it.
I am incredibly grateful.
Hear that part where they work 7 days a week?
They're working. Yes, these guys are doing the case here and the California case. Stupid. They're in charge. This prosecutorial team is working on this, and during trial, it might shock you, but when you're actually going to trial and stuff, a lot of attorneys, especially working for the state, because they're on salary and not on, they're not making it by, being paid by the hour like private defense attorneys, work all through the weekend. They take their work home with them. Greg, you don't even do your work at work.
Prosecutors, take Hunter Biden out of it for a moment. You want prosecutors? I can't pay a lawyer 7 days a week if I were ever in trouble. Can you?
They're prosecutors. Stupid. No, we can't. That's not the point. They just, what he means is they take their work home with them on the weekends.
Prosecutors, the money is unlimited.
It's not unlimited. They're just on salary. They don't get any more money.
Rotten about this whole thing. They're so self-righteous, aren't they?
They're prosecuting Hunter Biden. What the fuck do you want?
I don't trust him. I don't trust this guy.
I don't trust anybody. I don't trust the bus driver. I don't trust the gum on my seat. Hey.
I don't trust Jack Smith.
Really? That's shocking.
Somehow they think that, working for the government makes you better than everyone.
Fuck you. Yeah, makes you think. Somehow people think working for the government and swearing an oath to the Constitution makes you somehow better than Alan Dershowitz. It's just disgusting. Fuck. He said, feel again. You fucking.
Everybody else.
In conclusion, I would like to thank the dedicated public servants of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, with whom my office is conducting this investigation, and who work tirelessly.
Yeah, the guy's just deranged. You can just hear it in his voice. It's just kind of like, I can't. Can you guys hear me after the shouting? Oh, thank you, Paisley Jane.
Every day, upholding the rule of law in our country. I'm deeply proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Thank you very much.
Get over yourself.
Greg, Booby, fuck you. That guy's just being good to his colleagues. Look, if you had colleagues, all right, Greg, here's the thing, and this is probably why you're having an issue. See, when Jack Smith goes to work, people are glad to see him. It's something you'll never, ever be able to understand. Okay? You will never experience this. Just get used to the idea. I know it doesn't happen when you go home either, but it's really bad when you go to work. When Jack Smith or any of these guys go to work, they're like, people wave at them and say hi, and they go, how was your weekend? They mean it. You are never going to be able to understand that. So it's going to sound like a foreign language. It's all Greek to you, buddy. Because no one, Greg, I don't know how to put this in. No one is glad to see you. Not even Donald Trump. He has to see you. He likes the fact that you're a sycophant, but that makes you a useful moron. It's not because he's glad to see you. He's not like, oh, thank God, here comes Greg Kelly. Do you understand? And I really do think that's the wall you're hitting here. That just someone thanking their team is so fucking confusing to you because, and Greg, I want to say this as gently as I can. No one likes you. No one around you, none of your staff, the people that hired you don't like you. Greta Van Susteren thinks you're a joke. Everybody else wishes they either had your time slot or you could get bumped out, but they definitely think they're better than you are, which is a standard form of contempt I guarantee you run into all the time. Nobody likes you in the line at Starbucks. Everybody hates you on the bus. And the people that smile at you or say nice things at the grocery store, they do that with everybody because it's part of their job. if they get to know you, they hate you. And so it's just helpful. I'm just trying to help. That's why this looks weird to you. That's why someone thanking the people they work with is bizarre and unsettling. Because A, you're never going to do it because you're a prick. And B, no one around you is going to include you if they are thanking their team because they don't like you at all. I mean, and you're not understanding that explains so much about why you're acting like this on camera.
That goes for Weiss as well. If you were doing your job effectively, you wouldn't have to hide behind the men and women of your department and fellow prosecutors and this and that.
Hide? Okay, that's the other thing, is that he's so far up Trump's ass, he thinks that anybody who isn't a showboater is hiding behind their team. Nobody participates in a team, Greg. Come on. Nobody works with other people. What kind of gay, commie, trans, Marxist, communal, fucking Mr. Rogers bullshit is this? Nobody works together with you.
There's something really rotten going on here. We all know it. I
mean, no, we don't, Mr. Tongue Jut. You're creeping us out. Oh, thank you, Carolina.
I mean, checking the wrong box. Hunter Biden was having prostitutes sent to him from the other side of the country. That's something.
I think he paid for the ticket. I don't think they were sent to him. I think he flew them in. I guess the stable in the state that he was in wasn't that great. Having them sent, okay, and this is not an accident. Having them sent makes it sound like trafficking instead of just paying them to come and paying for their time. And if they fuck you, which is how a lot of the dodge works around escorting and the like. Clearly, if my experience watching season 2 of Columbo, 3 of Columbo, I don't know. The 70s are a blur. I was a child.
There's something called the Mann Act, all right? You're not allowed to do that. It's trafficking. It's sex trafficking. You see, not checking the box and...
Federal law that criminalizes the transportation of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery or for any other immoral purpose. So you can't fly a guest in on your show? I saw what you did there. I like it. It was good. It was good. I do immoral purpose and his show and stuff because you bring him on the show and then you show a picture of a guy in a tub on his phone, which is, what's the crime here? He's run out of Mr. Bubble. Is that what the crime is? Hey, Greg, is this one of the possible crimes? You fucking turd.
And Weiss has already indicated they're not going to ask for any jail time, right? That's what he meant.
Right?
No more.
Because you have to charge the women too, and none of them are copping to the fact that the money was for the fucking, the money was for the hanging and the dinners and the going places and the flying into the city, and they had a weekend and they stayed in his room and they went out and about and yabba yah. Meanwhile, how about, hey, here's a good idea. Dude, look into Trump and the Miss Teen USA stories.
No more accountable than anybody else in America, But Hunter's happy too. I'm sure he is. This is, in its own way, a sweetheart deal. And
yes, being convicted of 3 felonies is, in its own way, a sweetheart deal. You're a very silly man, Greg Kelly. You are incredibly silly. This is impressive.
He gets what he always wanted. According to Joe Biden in his autobiography, one day he put the question to Hunter. This is Joe talking to Hunter. I put the question to him. So, Hunter, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be important. I knew what he meant. You see, that's Joe's failure right there. I knew what he meant. You don't say that. You say he just wants to be important for importance sake. And
yes, important, as in having value. He didn't say, I want to be famous, you... What the fuck do you think important means?
Joe didn't straighten him out. And I will say...
What do you mean straighten? You don't want to be important. You want to be a member of the cattle that we all look down on. What are you talking about? Greg is just mad because Greg, psst, buddy, come here. You aren't important to anyone. Yeah. I'm sure I've never fucking met 98% of the people in your life, but I could say that without any reservation.
Say this, he is kind of important. Hey, take it full. Do you have some guy waiting for you to open your car door and just standing there? Watch this. You see these guys?
It's Secret Service. That's not because he's important. It's just dangerous to our country if he gets killed.
Secret Service?
And also, by the way, you're gonna ride or die for fucking Trump, and you're gonna read "I want to be important" as you just want elite services around you. Like, you do realize being important actually means being of worth, not just being famous.
Do they really need a guy to open the door? I think that's a little bit much, don't you? Anyway,
it's Secret Service, shithead.
Going back to the
And also, if you'll notice, Greg, real quick. Oh, fuck, this is good. Hold on. Sorry, I made my face change. Hold on. Never do that. Because if you click your heels together 3 times, Greg Kelly and I will end up in a field in Wyoming. Sorry. That Wyoming went both directions. Can we run that by me again real quick? So, did anybody else spot this, by the way, if I may? Anybody else spot this? Watch what it happens right when Greg says, why do they have to have somebody holding the door open? Here we go.
The door? I think that's a little bit much, don't you? Anyway, going back.
Oh! Did you see that? Did you see that real quick?
Get full. Do you have some guy waiting for you to open your car door and just stand?
Do you have some guy? Well, first of all, almost every hotel, if you call a car or a decent hotel, a lot of times for tips and other stuff, there'll be somebody who'll do that, and it's if they're being nice and gracious and it's part of the service or whatever, you should tip that person. And nobody. Well, here's the thing, Greg. There's a guy who opens the door for you on the bus. You should feel happy. But watch this right here. I'll run it all the way back.
Take it full. Do you have some guy waiting for you to open your car door and just standing
and he points
there?
At
Watch this.
No, hold on. He says, watch this, and points at the screen. There's the guy holding the door for Hunter Biden. That's what he's saying. He points like this. Watch what happens.
You see these guys? Secret Service? Do they really need a guy to open the door? I think that's a little bit much, don't you? Anyway, going back.
Walks right past him. He wasn't holding the door for him. Might have been for his lawyer and the other people who were leaving. And it's the Secret Service. They do it for safety, you shithead.
To the overall picture, I want you to know this. Hunter Biden will get a pardon. And I know that because
you need to believe it, because you come from a family where your dad, even though he knew you were guilty of something, would pardon you. And you love Trump, who would do the exact same thing for Don and Eric if he thought he could get away with it. And at the end of his second term, he'll be handing out fucking familial pardons like fucking crazy. And Biden has already said he won't.
Study closely Joe's behavior. His father.
He studied closely Joe's behavior.
Father's behavior. The word is, I'm not going to give him a pardon. Actually.
No, the word isn't that he's not going to give him a pardon. He has said it on the record.
He was asked by David Muir, and everybody missed something. Take a look.
Your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see where it's kind of like wishy-washy. You know, that could go either way. Did you ever notice how he asked kids, have you ruled it out, so they could use the word yes, and they'll cut in later, will you pardon your son? And he turns it into a yes because he says yes instead of no, I won't pardon him. Or he just answers the fucking question.
One syllable answers.
Right. Clear, concise, and without equivocation. And that... in this particular instance, and I know I'm going long a little bit tonight, kids. I'll show you this. Okay. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, Trump. Let's see. I guess it would be Fox and Friends. Release of Epstein files. Mm-hmm. See if I can find, if there's a...
Yeah. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of...
Look at the... And by the way, short, direct answers. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Greg. Here comes the... This is so you can see the difference between single answers and what Trump does. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the full unedited answer of the part where they asked Trump about Epstein.
Out of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know.
How do you less so... Shit. How do you less so declassify? Like, I'd hide some stuff. Mostly the shit that has to do with me.
You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
That whole Epstein world? There's a lot of phony stuff in there with that whole Epstein world?
But I think I would, or at least...
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would.
Trump was president at the time.
Would definitely do the January 6th because,
yeah.
Beyond all of them. Because what happened.
And also, even the unedited part is edited. They cut down what he said. That's why they put in these shots because you can't just go to shots of like fake listening on behalf of the Fox and Friends group. They didn't. I don't think they shot enough B-roll for it, and they sliced out even more of that.
How about the Unselect Committee? They had meetings. They had all Democrats and 2 failed Republicans, right? Cheney and crying Adam Kinzinger. See, Biden couldn't do this interview. Do you think he'd remember crying Adam Kinzinger? Do you think he'd remember all these different...
Are you fucking kidding? He recalls the names of like senators that were voted out in the 80s that he partnered with on bills he actually wrote. He wrote the Violence Against Women Act. He had to whip the votes himself. Of course he can.
Names, these different folks, and I didn't know you were going to be talking about this, but...
What? You didn't think that Jan 6 would come up with these fuckers?
Can you imagine? The whole thing is crazy what we're doing, what we're going in. I got to know the leaders of all the countries, and they're at the top of their game. They're very sharp. They're vicious. That's why they're doing so...
Yeah, no, they're not.
Well.
They're not doing well. Russia has like skull-fucked themselves in eastern Ukraine. They've lost 500,000 plus in 2 years.
Honduras, all of them. I know every one of them. And
yeah, Honduras is killing it right now.
They're very streetwise people.
He means poor.
You know that better than anybody.
Why would he know that? Why would anybody on Fox and Friends know that the leader of Honduras is streetwise better than anyone? It's a deflection tactic when he's talking. But good Lord,
streetwise, and they're smart, and
he means uneducated.
Love their country, or they want to do a good job for their country, or themselves. Doesn't matter.
Or themselves, mostly, yeah.
Because whatever it is.
Because whatever it is.
And they're moving all of their bad people into our country. And Venezuela just reported to 72%. Their crime is down 72%.
No, they did not. horseshit. Also, Trump's last act as president was to delay the removal of Venezuelans who are in the country illegally by 18 months to guarantee they stayed longer. And by the way, in a process that was already 2 years, to guarantee that basically they all stayed in the length of the Biden presidency, like the first term.
In a year. You know why? Because they moved all their criminals
They're
into
here.
the United States. And the next time we do an interview, we'll do it in Venezuela because it'll be much safer than being in our country.
Well, you brought up deportations in this interview.
Yeah.
How can you?
Anyways, this goes to the papers, please law. But the Epstein thing is the point. So let's look at what Greg Kelly finds as suspect again.
Their verdict, no matter what it is.
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
One syllable answers.
Yeah, direct. And he didn't go, well, I don't know about the Epstein thing, because a lot of people there's a lot of phony stuff in those Epstein files, and you don't want to hurt people or whatever. So I would, Jan 6, definitely whatever. I wouldn't release anything about that. I'd like to look into how he died, because I was president and I didn't know shit when that happened. But, it was interesting, wasn't it? But I less about, like, how he died is interesting, but who he was hanging out with, where the flights went, who was on those flights, less so.
Exhausted, one syllable answers. Thinks it makes him sound decisive and in command, right?
It is.
I already thought about this.
Direct.
No, he's always barely hanging on. It's an illusion. Whenever he answers questions in this manner, he's always wrong, and they're always going to reverse themselves. Always.
Okay, give us an example.
Check out how definitive he was about defending Taiwan, right? Saying it out loud in violation of the policy we've had for about 70 years or so. Watch.
So unlike Ukraine, to be clear, sir, U.S. forces, U.S. men and women would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion.
Yes.
Ooh, so decisive, so in command. And
asshole. We have troops in Taiwan. They are there training Taiwanese people. They are working with them on technology. We have a shit ton of people there, for one, just like American citizens, and we have a lot of military there who are working with them in coordination with the Japanese, in coordination with the Australians. We have troops there. If China attacks at any given time, our troops are not just going to stand down and become, bullet catchers. Yes, because we have troops there doing training exercises all the time. We did not have them in the fucking Donbass.
So wrong. And of course, all the officials had to come out and say, oh no, we're not changing our policy.
And ever since then, the policy has been stronger and stronger that we absolutely will. That's what the AUKUS agreement is. That's becoming the JAUKUS agreement by adding Japan to it.
See, because that would have been a radical departure. Everybody, they had what do they call it? Walk it back. They walked it back. The White House had to walk it back. Also, who remembers that crazy balloon from China that flew over the country and Joe didn't do a damn thing about it? Everybody was mad at China. Everybody was mad at Joe.
Yeah, I wasn't.
You got to do something. You just let that thing fly over the country.
Yeah, why don't you shoot it down? Maybe, who knows if it has a pathogen in it that could be pandemic part 2, and that it was the first instigation of a bioweapon, and they were hoping you'd shoot it down over open land in the middle of the country where it could land safely, where it would spread to cattle and then to humans and that kind of stuff. Because that's what you do instead of blocking the fucking thing. So that it can't read your, any of your devices, or and there's shielding on all of our military bases and the nuclear sites and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't really have to worry about it. If we had to worry about it, we'd have shot it down over another body of water. They just waited until it was out over the ocean, then shot it down, and then we've got it. We own it. We have it.
You must have been mad at your big pal, President Xi, right? No.
Have relations now between the U.S. and China taken a big hit, frankly?
No.
No. Again, it's an act. And he's always wrong. Everybody, their administration knew it. The fake news knew it. Everybody knew.
Yeah. All right. This dust up sends U.S.-China relations from bad to worse. This is, by the way, this incorporates like the House and everybody else and the right-wing reaction to it, the Republicans' reaction to it as well. And by the way, our relationship with China, the reason he could say that is because they can't get worse. The only reason they would even send something like that over the country is because they know they're fucked. We're blocking their satellites. That's why they need balloons. And it didn't work.
That
look, balloon incident adds new tension to U.S.-China relationship to worse. I don't know what the fuck that is. Greg, did you write that headline for ABC? Because it's gibberish. U.S.-China relations keep getting worse. Right. I thought they paid Biden to grease the wheels.
Brought Chinese-American relations to a new catastrophic low. So I hope that puts in context a little bit this whole Hunter does not get a pardon because he will. Finally, somebody's got to send...
No, he won't.
And Jill Biden the bill. You heard about this, right? Who does she think she is? Princess Diana? Commuting from France to go to this trial. Commuting from France to go to that trial with their cape, with their $9,000 dress. I think she does.
Yes, if Melania did something like that, you would be horrified while masturbating.
I think she's kind of royalty. And, this is not a country that's...
Her son's on trial.
Into royalty, flying back and forth, commuting between Paris and that trial. That is something else. All right, there's another reason why you should...
Again, seriously, if Melania did any of this stuff, it would be the fault of the prosecution for making her have to do this.
Shouldn't like this.
She has a shawl on. That's why he's saying cape.
Verdict, and know that something is wrong. The liberals love it.
This is a really good day for the American system. Our
Wait, Chuck Todd is your example of a liberal?
system is different. There is a fairness to it where we really do aspire that nobody is above the law.
Today, and in Donald Trump's case, our justice system is working the way it should.
This is a gun charge. The proof was overwhelming. If you look at this case, what is the big picture here? It's not a drug addict who possessed a gun for 2 weeks. It is that you have a president of the United States who is living embodiment of the rule of law.
Yeah, that's what we all think of when we see Joe Biden, the living embodiment of the rule of law.
Yes, the houses you're seeing here were purchased legally with... one was fixed up and sold. The other two were purchased with funds from his book. And then the car, again, he's had since the 60s. That car cost his dad like $7,000.
Career politician who gets mega rich.
Well, he's not mega rich. He's not even close. His net worth's like $20 million.
While serving in office.
No. He sold a book. He was vice president, not while going in office. He was broke all the way up till he was vice president. Then he sold a book. And his book actually was a bestseller. That's it.
That's
and he had speech money for like 18 months between campaigning and leaving office.
That's corrupt. And that's what should be prosecuted. That's
why. What are you talking about? What the shit?
What needs to be investigated. All right.
What? Hold on. Needs to be investigated? You think these three fucking houses and that car and what this hug and the fact that he owns a tuxedo, you think that shit hasn't been investigated? It needs to be investigated? It needs to be investigated. So they're not investigating any of this shit. That's what you said. You say that somebody should look into this? Is that the idea? You fucking twerp.
So I know some people are celebrating again this verdict. No, they missed the mark. They're doing it to protect this guy. You know who's fantastic on this? The
Alan Dershowitz.
Trump campaign. Get to them in a moment. And Alan Dershowitz, the great.
Yeah, he's fabulous. Of all the lawyers in New York that got a massage at Jeffrey Epstein's house and lied about it, I think he's got to be. Yeah, he's got to be in the top 5.
This legal mind in America.
I wish he had gotten an acquittal. He didn't deserve to be prosecuted, but neither did Trump. But we live in a different world today where people...
We're just prosecuting politicians and their kids just for the fuck of it.
Prosecuted for crimes, not because of what they did, but because of who they are, in violation of one of the oldest biblical prohibitions.
Biblical.
In the Bible, it says the judges do not recognize faces. And here, of course, the prosecutors...
Well, if somebody's been in front of you a bunch of times, you're going to start going, hey, what's up, Stan? Welcome back. And I can't let you go this time, buddy.
Clearly recognize faces. They would never have prosecuted either Trump or Biden if their names hadn't been Trump and Biden.
Well, again, I don't know where the quadruple bluff 5D chess of Biden and his team wanted the plea deal to go away so they could have this trial, so they could use this as leverage to go after Trump by serving up his son for a bullshit gun charge that even Republicans don't think should be tried. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is why Greg Kelly is the most miserable man on the internet. Now, let's see. I'm over, but can I share one thing? We haven't talked to this dickhead in a while, but I just want to show you the kind of sort of the state of the anus that is the Jimmy Dore Show real quick. And I'm sorry to end the show with this. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Dore, this is American aid peer used by Israel for hostage raid. And by the way, on Rumble, apparently, you have to spell Israel with an at so that you don't get deplatformed or something like that on Rumble. So the algorithm on Rumble won't lower your ad rev. So, and this is Press TV, this is his source. Israeli military used U.S. aid peer as part of Nazareth massacre op report, which is their report, by the way.
TV.
I think he was telling the truth, by the way.
Israeli military used U.S. aid peer as part of the Nusrat massacre. So that's that massacre that just happened.
Yes, the massacre that just happened, that they named and created a bunch of fake dead people.
Where they slaughtered 200 children to save 4 hostages.
So Hamas surrounded the area where they're keeping hostages with children. Par for the course.
Did they save the hostages?
He doesn't even know. Wait a minute. Kurt doesn't know about the 4 hostages that were saved anyways?
They killed a couple.
Great.
No, they didn't. You're thinking weeks ago. That was a different situation. The 4 that they found, they saved.
The Israeli military used a U.S.-built pier.
By the way, this is, well, you'll see. The report from who? From the Gazan government, from Hamas.
Which has been purportedly installed to transfer aid to the Gaza Strip to facilitate an earlier massacre against a refugee camp located in the central part of the coastal sliver, our report says.
A report from Hamas.
Israeli forces carried out the massacre against the Nusrat refugee camp on Saturday, killing hundreds of Palestinians before they retrieved 4 Israeli captives.
So there were 4 Israeli captives in a so-called refugee camp, is what you're saying.
Now, according to that kid, they were not only Israelis.
Hi, Groove Dragon. That's not at all what I'm doing. I would argue I could just invert what you said towards you. I'm saying he's making these numbers up. I'm saying imaginary dead people. Israel's not on the hook for imaginary dead people. You can criticize what they actually do, but he's making shit up. And this is specifically from Hamas.
His soldiers, that it was also American. Here's what CNN says. An Israeli operation rescues 4 hostages. Look how they put it. And kills scores of Palestinians.
Whoa, 4 score and how many hostages?
Yeah, they don't know the actual number because they can't trust the Hamas ones, but they are open to the idea, this is what the CNN report said, that they believe a generalized number, but they can't know for sure. Also, again, the hostages were being kept in the refugee camp next to an ammo dump.
It killed scores.
What's a score of is that like a dozen?
A score is a dozen. Scores. Why did they just say they killed the baker's dozen of
And then
Palestinians?
Also, how many hostages did they kill?
So two.
Because dozens is in the numbers that they're talking about. And also, Palestinians, you do realize like Hamas fighters are technically Palestinians, right? There you go.
200, you know, scores. So technically it is scores. So what, 12 times what equals 200? 12 times 12 is 144.
Oh, my God.
So scores, at least 15 scores?
No, they're not taking their number. That's the point. CNN can't verify it, but they're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Yes, it's 20.
16,
Way to
17.
Abraham Lincoln that.
According to the Cradle Online News magazine,
The Cradle.
they were then flown out of Gaza via the U.S.-built pier, the troops, which had been reinstalled on the coast on Friday after
The Cradle? No kidding.
undergoing tens of millions
The gray zone didn't pipe in, or are they too busy dealing with their money laundering issue?
of dollars in repairs. At least 210 Palestinians were killed and more than 400 others were injured when the Israeli military carried out dozens of airstrikes against the besieged territory as means of enabling the captives' retrieval.
Okay, couple of things. Let's break apart that paragraph in and of itself. First of all, what they're counting is that any bombing and explosion, any artillery fire that was happening in Gaza, in the entire area of Gaza, not just in Nazareth in that area, was all to save these 4 Jews who had it coming. And the idea is that these 210 and 400 others injured when they carried out dozens of airstrikes against the besieged territory, meaning all of Gaza, as a means of enabling the captives' retrieval, which is not the case, right? Obviously.
You usually do that.
And by the way, when your own troops are in there retrieving hostages, you aren't carpet bombing the area where you're evacing hostages.
I thought they would be
Like, this is just stupid, is my point. This isn't, by the way, put on the shelf for a moment, if you can, your feelings about the imbalance of power and all the stories you've been told and the fact that Hamas had to readjust their numbers about how many men, women, and children have been killed and how much of their own complicity was in it and how much they're complicit in more than 80% of the reporters that have died in this conflict because they have killed them outright, murdered them, shot them in the head, both in Gaza and the West Bank, not because they were killed in the bombing while trying to cover this ongoing war. Understand that as part of it. But look at the description here and understand the bill of goods you're being sold about this from this guy who has a veneer level of understanding about the conflict and has made his decision about what news stories to take seriously, what facts to take seriously, or alleged facts to take seriously based on fuck America. That's his whole purpose. That's his entire ethic at this point. Now, granted, he lives here. He'll never leave. He's not going to move to another country, but he believes the country he's in is the source of all evil in the world and that you can't even change that by voting. But it's just too fucking cush. He's just it's too fucking. It's the giant bear that kills, that will kill the world. But hey, I'm on the right side of it, so why would I leave?
Like a high-powered rifle set up across the building or something, but they carpet bombed the area to get the hostages back.
So they've updated this.
Kurt almost stumbled on it. Did you hear him do it? They carpet bombed the area to get the hostages back. Yeah, that's the logic we're dealing with.
To 274 killed and more than 700 wounded to get 4 hostages back.
Why were hostages in the middle of a refugee camp? Would be the question. That's a war crime. That's a war crime. Using a refugee camp or a gathering area that is specifically allocated to not see military action in the middle of a war zone, which no other countries do, hiding your hostages in that area is a war crime. Posting snipers in hospital windows is a war crime.
So that was part of when Hamas did their October 7th. It was they have over
they killed
1,000
less Israelis to get their people back.
That's
than
right.
Israeli, which I guess is the policy is we're 9 times more valuable than you are.
Huh? the Israelis traded 1,000 Palestinians to get back some, like, less than 100 hostages of their own. No, what it means is that the Israelis value their people more. That a 1-to-1 swap is not enough for Hamas because they're getting pawns out of jail. They're not saving human beings.
The people in the concentration camp we keep.
The regime's forces.
Yes, the concentration camp that we keep. We keep. And he means Israel. And what's the difference? America, Israel, same thing. Fuck Egypt. Egypt runs an entire border of it and polices the waters on the entire, whatever, southwestern side of the Gaza Strip. But, you know, we.
Directly targeted civilians, including children, during a barbaric and brutal aggression against the Nusrat camp, Gaza government media office said.
Gaza government media office said. Did the Gaza media government office have anything to say about why there were hostages in a refugee camp? Why were hostages freed from a refugee camp or an area allocated to be a refugee camp, which was really largely where they went into a staging ground for the, you know, Operation Sausage Fest?
At least 36,801 Palestinians, mostly women and children.
Bullshit. It's a lie. By the way, they're still using the old number. Even Hamas has updated this number. And again, how much are they responsible for? If you're putting snipers in hospital windows and you're hiding hostages in refugee camps, are you calling for collateral damage against your people? You're going, hey, if you want your people back, you're going to have to kill innocent civilians. I'm going to use them as human shields. It's the very definition of it. And that, my friends, is a war crime.
Mostly women and children.
This is where conservatives make me fucking sick because they're all blabbing about trans surgery on kids and doing this.
But they don't care about slaughtering kids.
And they're just slaughtered and they're like, well, war's hell.
Yeah.
Well, now you know what the other people are saying when they mutilate your kids.
Okay. Obviously, the non sequitur award of the evening goes to Kurt Metzger, who believes that there's some sort of weird, bizarre, forced gender reassignment surgery on children in the United States that is carried out by whoever the fucking they are, probably Jews in his case.
They go, war's hell. I guess we got to do this to your kids.
83,000 have been wounded in the war that has launched following a retaliatory operation by the Palestinian Territories Resistance Movement.
I'm sorry? How did they describe it?
83,000 have been wounded in the war that has launched following a retaliatory operation.
That was launched following a retaliatory operation by the Palestinian Territories Resistance Movements. October 7th. Listen to what he's reading from. Again, this is not an argument about Netanyahu's a fucker and he's got to get out and Yahweh Sinwar is a fucking beast and, you know, 1-to-1 most Jews and Palestinians would get along just fine if they weren't fighting over magic rocks. That's a conversation for another time. But look at the source that Jimmy is reading from and understand how they are describing October 7th. Following a retaliatory operation by the Palestinian Territories Resistance Movement. So the erections that the Hamas fighters had while they were raping women before they blew their brains out, those were political hard-ons. Those were retaliatory hard-ons. That's what that was. That's the description. That's how this article describes October 7th. Everything that happened on October 7th. Them dragging the girl away, holding up her fucking dead body while people spit on her in the street. All that stuff. That was a retaliatory operation by the Palestinian Territories Resistance Movements. Nothing says resistance like the rape and desecration of a woman's dead body. You know, it's a retaliation. We'll show you.
By the Palestinian Territories Resistance Movement.
Yeah, I don't hear about drag queen story hours.
Prior to the
Meanwhile, I don't know, Kurt's still grinding about gays. In Pride Month, by the way. This is a clip that is it's recent.
That targeted Nusrat.
Apparently, like, I can't imagine what fucking I'm assuming Kurt lives in L.A. So what is he just sick of seeing the pride flags everywhere? Fuck. At this point, why does he just see if Alito wants a fuck boy?
The Palestinian
The irony is palpable.
resistance movement, Hamas, had repeatedly.
The Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas. That's what they are. The Hamas is the Palestinian resistance movement. No, it isn't. It's the elected government that's military actions are funded by Iran, and they use pulled up water pipes paid for with our tax dollars to turn into makeshift missiles made with like sugar and fertilizer and alcohol.
Warned that the floating pier was built to deliver weapons to the Israeli regime.
Which is bullshit. All right, that's the dumbest fucking part of this whole thing. Hold on. So the U.S. can fly military weapons into Israel at any airport in the area, can fucking float a boat right up to Israel on their beach and drop stuff off, but somehow we have to build this makeshift pier in the middle of Gaza to get them what? How does that make any fucking sense? Does anybody even ballpark understand what the fuck that means? Why would we have to do that? We have direct relations with them. They're not surrounded, motherfucker. We have planes that land there all the time. Why would we endanger our people to build a pier to get rifles in on the west side of Gaza? What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, exactly, Otis. You mean the IDF could carry their weapons in with them? It's horseshit. This is the weirdest, nuttiest bullshit. There you go.
The pier is intended to provide cover for Washington's support for the occupation with weapons. Hamas.
Hold on. Why the fuck would why would the U.S. sneak arms into Gaza from the sea? What are you talking like? If the Israelis want to attack from that side of they've got boats themselves. We can just give them the shit. They put it on their own boat and attack if they wanted to. They're just not. See what I mean? That's why I'm saying, put aside your conversation in your own head about the innocent lives that are lost in it and all that kind of stuff, and understand that's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a propaganda exercise, and a ham-handed, shitty one at that. How does any of that make any fucking sense? Exactly. Weapons for who? Edward in our chat room. Weapons for whom? Why? Yeah, it is a neutral zone. It's for aid. The same thing we're doing with the airdrops. It's like Hamas is also saying that the U.S.'s airdrops with food in them are full of ammunition and stuff for Israeli troops, which don't need it, by the way. They've got backup. They've got tanks. They've got armored vehicles that are bringing the shit in with them. They're never short of rounds. That's not something that's fucking happening. It's not the fucking eastern front of fucking Ukraine. Unfucking believable. Like that's the argument. And he's reading from Hamas's talking points directly. That's the first description of the psychosexual factors regarding rape I've ever heard in public forum. Thank you. Absolutely, Mohamed, you. I mean, look, there's no such thing as revenge rape. Doesn't happen. The erection you get is because of the feeling you have in that moment. It's not because of something that happened a month ago, 6 weeks ago, 5 years ago. Nobody's got a 5-year-old boner waiting, to finally see its day in the sun. It's nonsense. And even if you were doing it in a retaliatory nature, you still have to be aroused by the action to do it. And I don't know how you could do that. I can't imagine it. I gotta say. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. I don't know how the fuck you get aroused at the idea of sexually assaulting someone to get back at their people. And I'm glad I don't understand it. It's madness. It is base insanity. It is cult misogynistic psychopathy. And anybody who even goes, well, it happened because they were getting revenge for something that, no. No. In that situation, that's a man doing what he wants because the opportunity is in front of him. And if he could do it anywhere else, he'd do it there too. It's nuts. No. And I would love for the very same people, who, even the ones who I believe are speaking honestly, but certainly the people around them who are controlling the message, who are talking about, that, Israel needs, and actions on the ceasefire, there's a lot of movement on that going on. But I have never seen any of them call on Hamas or the Iranians or Hezbollah or any of the other like Arab militias in the area to denounce rape as a weapon of war. Right? That would be a baseline. Even before we're getting to the point where we're gonna deal with the fact that you got to trade. We'll have a ceasefire temporary, and then hopefully it'll lead to a bigger thing, and you got to get back the hostages. No, I just want to hear these fuckers say we call on all of these groups in this entire situation to denounce rape as a weapon of war throughout. Whether it be Boko Haram or Hamas or the fucking Houthis. And I'm sad to say the Geneva Convention was the Western world doing that. That's us. We did that. Right? But why won't they call on them to do it? Why? I don't get it. I've never heard a single person even walking around with a fucking sign holding that up. We call on Hamas to denounce rape as a weapon of war. Period. Haven't seen anybody do it. Haven't had anybody even talk about it in reference, even when the New York Times article about the sexual violence came out, not a one. As part of their thing, we support the Palestinian situation. We call for an immediate two-state solution. We call for Hamas to release the hostages and denounce rape as a weapon of war. How about that? Is that too hard to fucking do? Other than that, I have no opinion. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. I might be a little more on the edge today because I'm a bit exhausted from my drive back from the jam last night, but it was a great time. And I look forward to the next jam, which will be in support of Pride Month. And hopefully I will get that special song that I'm trying to get on the list so that we can celebrate it even more openly and flagrantly and flamboyantly and belovedly. But this is one of those areas where I think we all have a line. I think we all have there are certain issues that you're just like, fuck that. It just, however you were raised, it might be a focal point. It might be even somebody being a teetotaler or whatever. Whatever your thing is, where you're just like, in all these things, once we get up to this wall, and to me, there's a cliff there. That's a no-go zone. And coddling it or allowing for it in any fucking form is despicable. There's no fudging it. Right? And that's one of the things about this that has probably informed my opinion on this entire thing more than anything else, because I watched all the Hamas videos that they posted as it was happening and in the days following. I made myself do it. And yeah, that informed my opinion on all of this stuff. And I would love for anybody in the two-state pro-Palestinian movement to come out and just say, we call on Hamas specifically to denounce rape as a weapon of war. And I would like to hear it from our own government. That's the least they could do. Anyways, you guys are wonderful. Sorry to make it end kind of heavy on this or whatever. I promise I'll be sillier tomorrow, because I always am. Thank you guys. Hit that like, by the way, on your way out the door. Appreciate you. See you soon. And thank you guys for the super chats and the support today. Thanks for the bits, everybody on Twitch. Thank you, Paisley Jane, so much for the super chat for Cupcake. Thank you, JD, Christy. Thanks, Robert Brunswick, for staying a member. I appreciate that. Memberships are available on YouTube. Thank you, Colonel Clink. Beck is morphing into a right-wing Jiminy Glick. Ugh, nailed it. Love you guys. And thanks for the Venmos, Denise. And thank you, Cheryl. And thank you, Matthew. Thanks for the coffee. Love you guys.